Welcome back to season 2 of How Did She Do It? I'm so excited to bring all these fabulous women to you this fall. If you don't already know me, I'm Nicole Lombardo, co-founder of Get It Done Gals Business Coaching. And today we have Kristina Wilde, an influencer and lifestyle blogger. And we're going to really dive into her journey as an entrepreneur, as a blogger, as a really empowered businesswoman. And we're going to cover fun things like how to build a brand, how to use Instagram to build a following, and not get caught up in making it too perfect, but actually really connecting with people. So let's dive in. Welcome, Kristina.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
I'm really excited to do this. My first ever live interview. So I'm really excited to get started and yeah.
Great. So why don't we get a little bit of a backstory around how did you become a influencer? You know, when you're able to put something like that on your Instagram, I'm an influencer. What does that mean? And how did you get there? How did you build this brand?
Well, I think it goes back to when I was in high school. I used to have a blog. I don't know if anybody has heard of it. It's called Live Journal, and I used to just write all the time. It was kind of my digital diary. And I then quickly realized I really had a passion for sharing my life and documenting it. I was always recording videos of me and my friends and taking pictures and really being creative. And I started realizing that, I could share this online, and I expanded that. So I realized in 2009, I really wanted to have like a blog where I would take outfit photos and share, whatever I'm passionate about. And in the beginning, it was fashion, but I didn't have the confidence. I didn't really have anybody to take my photos. And finally, in 2013, I was just like, I'm going for it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to stop waiting around for whatever to happen, and I'm just gonna do it. So I asked my mom to take my photos. I bought a camera. It was like a point and shoot from Sony. And I just was like, I'm gonna do this. And she started taking my outfit photos, and I started writing. What was really popular back then was lookbook. So everyone would just share their outfit photos, and quickly that expanded. I've always wanted to have a YouTube channel, but again, I didn't have the confidence. I was dealing with the acne breakout when I was 19 years old. So I really didn't feel like the timing was perfect. But after dealing with a really bad breakup of him telling me that I can't do it, that, my Instagram isn't professional and that I shouldn't be doing that, after that breakup, I was just like, you know what, I'm going for it. I'm going to do it. And it was a really good distraction, to say the least. But I was just tired of stopping myself from doing what I felt was right, just because I was worried what other people were going to think of me. And I just kind of went for it. And back then there was a few blogs, but it really wasn't a thing. And I was actually really shy about sharing what I was doing, even though, I would take these outfit photos and I would publish them on my blog or I'd publish them on Lookbook. I still was really shy. I wasn't confident saying like, I have a blog, you should check it out. But then quickly after that, when I started my YouTube channel, I realized how much I really loved being in front of the camera. I realized that people could see my personality more. When I took those outfit fashion photos, I wouldn't really have a smile on my face. And as you can see, I'm always smiling, and I tell like bad jokes and all that stuff. So I really loved YouTube, and I think video is a really great way to connect with your audience. So I started doing that, and I just haven't looked back. And I've really been loving sharing my story and really just like documenting my life. And that's pretty much where I got started, I guess you can say.
So with the blog, you started out with fashion, and then you started doing the YouTube videos. Is that where you kind of started adding more in the travel and the beauty and all of that? Did it segue at that point in time where it's like, okay, here's really more of me?
Yeah, exactly. So when I first started out on YouTube, I was just going to be doing the same thing. I was doing a lot of fashion videos. And then actually my first video on YouTube was beauty, because I noticed there was beauty and there wasn't really a lot of fashion. So I was like, okay, I know people are really interested in beauty, even though I was not, and I still am not anywhere close to being a beauty blogger, but I had makeup, so that was my first video, but it was very much focused on fashion. And then over the years, or over the next couple of videos, I guess you can say, it kind of started to expand. Like I had mentioned earlier, I had dealt with acne. So there was no way of hiding that or sharing that. So I did a Lush skincare haul, and quickly I went from I was doing YouTube for a couple of months. So I started back in beginning or late 2014, beginning 2015. And so I had 300 followers, and I really wasn't doing it for the following count or to make money or anything like that. I just wanted to share with my audience and with my followers and engage with them. And when I did that Lush haul, it just skyrocketed. I didn't even know what was happening. So within a month of posting that video, it was getting thousands of views, and I was just like, what's going on? I mean, it was on the top page. I mean, it was above Zoella, who, if you guys don't know, it's a really huge beauty blogger. She's the #1 in the UK and pretty much one of the top lifestyle beauty bloggers out there. And I started gaining a really big following. And then I realized that, people are going to relate to me based upon my experiences in my life and what I'm going through. So I'm not going to try and hide this from them. I'm going to be really honest, and I'm going to share them, how I take care of my hair, because back then I had white platinum blonde hair, or I would share with them what I eat in the day. I also shared with them, why I was changing my habits of eating because of my acne. So I really realized with YouTube, it was my chance to get really personal with my audience and really share that side apart from fashion. And even though I still really love fashion, it's a big part of my Instagram, I realized that not every platform is meant for the same audience, is meant for the same areas, I guess you can say. So it quickly went from fashion to beauty. Now it's more skincare and lifestyle, where I share, I moved to Paris and this beautiful city, and motivating and doing diaries where I have videos that I've captured on my iPhone, and it's more really personal. And, I think it's really beautiful how every platform kind of expands. You go from, just taking certain photos, one photo of a outfit of the day, for example. For me, it went from outfit of the day and then expanded, and everything always changes and expands with every platform. You kind of just have to follow the journey and not fight it, and just be really true to yourself. So I guess that was kind of a long explanation, but
no, it really gives us a really good background, look into your background and your history of, what brought you to where you are today, because so many women trying to get into the entrepreneur space and become, whether it's blogger or online courses or anything, they're trying to really figure out this whole social media thing. And, sometimes we get that shiny object syndrome where you think, oh my gosh, I have to have a YouTube channel, and I have to have the perfect Instagram, and then I have to do Instagram stories, and then there's Snapchat, and it just spirals out of control really quickly. And so I love that you started with the blog, and then you went over to YouTube, and then you worked with what flowed in your business. And as people were attracted to you, you started working with them. So my question for you is, we always work with women to really set a really good foundation in their business. So, what is your purpose? What is the why? What are you doing here? What's going on? What's your game plan here? And then also looking at things like, who's your ideal client? Did you ever sit down and say, okay, I need to make a business plan for this, or I need to figure out who my ideal client is? Or did that just naturally occur because you had things like the YouTube channel that just started, okay, here's my audience, I'm connecting with somebody here, and then you move down that path?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, actually, if we talk about my journey on social media. I can't even remember when I started Instagram. I know that, it was back in the time where you had to only have an iPhone. It wasn't on any other, you couldn't, if you had an Android, you couldn't have Instagram. So I actually had Instagram before I had my blog. And it's funny because that was very personal. I didn't even think Instagram was going to be like, I could not imagine Instagram was going to be where it was today. I would take a photo of a gumball machine and get like 200 likes, and I just would joke about it. I'm just like, what is this platform? I started at that stage, and quickly it started to evolve with my blog. And, I had deleted a ton of stuff beforehand. And actually, I have only the first stuff that you see on my Instagram actually is from when I traveled around Europe 4 years ago. So it's really, really interesting how that all evolved. But I think what happened was I just started doing things that were natural to me. And, my audience ended up building. So I started Instagram. It was kind of more really personal, but then I realized like I need to be more strategic. If you scroll back when I started YouTube, it was a lot of selfies, and that's just because I was in front of the camera more. I was taking more selfies. It's actually quite funny when you look at the evolution of Instagram. But when I started my YouTube channel, I actually really sat down and I tried to think about who my audience was and who I wanted to attract. I knew I was going to be the best makeup artist, so I know I was going to be attracting that demographic, but I was attracting girls who are similar to me, who like easy wearable makeup, who maybe have acne prone skin, and I was trying to figure out how I would edit it between that's music or who I'd be kind of targeting. So I'd look at other YouTubers and try to not copy them, but gather inspiration and see what people are liking, whether that be the way that they edit, the way that they light it. And because I do have a photography background, it wasn't that hard to get started with YouTube. My first video, it looks completely professional, and now I've kind of backtracked. I just shoot things with my iPhone or my little point and shoot camera. But I definitely think, you can do either ways. You can look and write down a business model and say like, what is my audience? Who is this? Or you can just get started and then backtrack, what I did, but it will take a little bit longer and you won't be that consistent starting out. I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I do think that you just need to get started and stop holding yourself back, because like myself, I wanted to start back in like 2009, but I stopped myself because I wasn't confident. I was dealing with acne, but I can only imagine if I would have started back when I wanted to, if I was open and confident and honest and being like, this is what I'm going through. I have acne. It's really bad. I'm on Accutane. How many girls could I have reached if I just would have been that voice for them? So I think over the years, I've gotten really good at knowing who my audience is and who they were and now who they are. If I try to do a fashion video on my YouTube channel, I don't know if that's going to be as good as another video where I open up about, my struggles with acne or my journey to Paris or anything like that. But I don't think there is a wrong or right way to do it. I just think you need to get started and do it.
Taking action. It's an important thing. Hence the name Get It Done Gals.
No, I love that.
Yeah, building a community of women who get it done, You have to just take the action and get started. Yeah, I love that advice. So I would love to know more about your YouTube experience. I want to dive into two different things here, YouTube and then Instagram, because I think that there are two platforms that people don't quite, there's barriers. Excuse me. So with YouTube, you said that you kind of looked at other people, got inspired, and then you had a background of photography, and then you were able to put the videos together. Did you go any further of saying, okay, how do I look at tags or titles or anything like that? Or did that naturally progress?
So with YouTube, like I said, I have the photography background, so that was very easy, but I had no idea how to use Final Cut Pro. I just knew that was because I was already involved with the community, because I've already watched videos, I knew that that was the program that I needed to get. But because I've had experience with Photoshop since I was like 13 years old, it really wasn't a problem to pick that up. But with like tagging and stuff like that specifically, I mean, I look back at my videos and my tags were nowhere near the level of what they are today. That's just because I didn't really understand video or SEO or how it works with like your thumbnail and all that kind of stuff that plays into a factor. But I think it's really interesting because YouTube, it's always changing with the algorithm, just like any social platform, which I'm sure we're all super happy about. But, you know, I look back at those tags and I'm like, how did this video get so popular? You know, and there's a lot of things that we can do research on with, you know, YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, but it goes back to, you know, are you really relating to those people? Are they reacting? Are they engaging? Are they commenting? Are they sharing? Are they liking? You know, and I think those are the things that all these social networks really pay attention to. So with YouTube, you know, it's been an evolution like any platform, but, you know, I kind of just like published a video and added some tags, and it's kind of similar to Instagram in a sense, but also very, very different. So I already had that background in knowing what a hashtag is and, or, you know, the tags, which is pretty much the same thing, and the importance of that. But I didn't really know anything much about that, but it goes back to just getting things done, and, you know, eventually you'll start learning and you'll get better. But if you just wait until you're perfect, until you know everything, you'll never get started. So that's with YouTube. But for Instagram, you know, everything always evolves and changes. You know, I didn't really know how I could use Instagram as a platform for marketing or any kind of strategies or to build my brand or anything like that. But, you know, everything always evolves and everything always changes. And I've learned, I've followed accounts, I've watched a lot of videos, and there's a lot of stuff on YouTube actually that has helped me progress as well. But if I would have said back then when I started Instagram, like, you know, if I would have taken it so seriously and I would have not, like, you know, I was joking about taking one of my first photos of a gumball machine, you know, that was nowhere near what is anything of my brands at all. But I only did that because I didn't, one, understand the platform, but two, I thought it was aesthetically pleasing. I threw a filter on it. You know, I had no idea what the feed meant or anything like that, but just getting started and then evolving with the platform is really important. And I think also being involved with the community, because I was involved with other people on Instagram or other people on YouTube, I kind of had a basis. I wasn't just going into the platform blind. Like, I wasn't going into YouTube. I've never seen a YouTube video in my life, because I feel like, you know, if you want to be a part of a community, you actually have to be a part of it. You can't just be like, I'm going to be a YouTuber and then not be a part of the community. So I think that's also really important, and the whole evolution of everything.
Yes. So for the YouTube, you know, you started seeing traction and the people commenting and liking and all of that and following. Where, I don't know if you do any sort of sponsored ads or, you know, how can you make money from YouTube?
So as far as sponsored ads, never done one. I've never done one on YouTube to gain any kind of traction. That's actually never even crossed my mind. I look at YouTube more of a platform to engage with my audience, to be like vulnerable with my audience. But of course, by all means, there's tons of ways to grow your YouTube channel, between collaborating with YouTubers, you know, documenting your life with another YouTuber there, like vlogging. There's definitely strategies and ways to build up your YouTube channel, and there's definitely revenue from it. But if you think that you're going to be getting money from, you know, having 500,000 subscribers, like, it's really nothing. It's like Google ads, like, you know, everyone has Google ads, but how much do you actually make from it? So it's not even about how many subscribers you have, it's about how many views you have. So that's another thing that I've also learned. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that YouTube is my full-time job and I make a ton of money off of it. You should do the same thing. There's also things like sponsored posts where, you know, a company will work with me. but I would never work with a company that doesn't relate to my brand or to my message. And there's a ton of companies that I turn down just because I know it doesn't match with my audience or my demographic. And another amazing thing about YouTube is that you can really hone in on who your audience is, if they're subscribed or not subscribed. What is your like highest search tag? How do people find you? I mean, Instagram needs to get to where YouTube is for those demographics, but I think, in terms of like how I grew it, I just think, I have those couple of videos that really hit home and were really, really popular. And, everything always just circles up. You just got to keep being consistent, keep publishing the content that people are going to relate to, that are true to yourself. I'm not going to do a video on, I don't even know, like funny, like buy this TV, you know what I mean? Those like as seen on TV, weird hair products, because one, I would never buy that. And two, that's not really what I want to spend my time watching on YouTube, because I'm not going to buy it. And, it's not that entertaining for me, to be honest. But, in a lot of the YouTube space, that's really, really popular. But I think just staying true to you and only publishing content that you're really, really proud of and going from there will really, really help with that, with increasing your audience.
So another question that we get quite often, is around Instagram ads or Facebook ads. Do you ever do any ad spend, or is it just about what you just said, which I think is so important, is being super consistent, being true to yourself, and putting the best content out there? Do you have any ad spend within your business?
No, I've never done any kind of promotion or ad on Facebook or Instagram. I guess across all platforms, I've never done an ad. I don't feel like, I can't speak for it, but for me personally, the audience that I'm attracting, I don't know if they're going to really relate to an advertisement. That's just from personal experience of thinking about it, like, okay, I can do this advertisement, and spend 10, 15, 20, 25 dollars trying to attract this audience. But, is that really where I'm at right now? Am I going to be like selling something, or am I just trying to get my follower count up? So because I'm not at that stage on my Instagram where I feel like I'm going to be able to attract that audience with an advertisement, I'm not giving them any kind of value. I'd rather just take that time and that money and to authentically engage with my audience, create that beautiful content and consistently deliver content to the people who already are following me, because, I don't care if I have 5 followers, 1,000 followers, 20,000 followers. I don't care, as long as I am resonating with my audience and creating that content, because, they followed you for a reason. Why don't you take that time and to give back to them, and they'll give back to you so much more. They're going to be interacting with you. They're going to be sharing you with your friends. I feel like when you have that loyalty and that following, and you consistently show up for them, you consistently create that content and give back to them, that's going to just help you overall. I'm not 100% against ads. I totally understand why people do it. They get frustrated. They want to get their posts seen. They want to get on top. But I think everything takes time. Take that time to get to know your audience first and to create that content. And then when you're really ready and you feel like you're really ready, you can go ahead and do that advertisement, because let's be honest, Instagram makes it almost virtually impossible to get your post seen or to gain any kind of following. But I think, just showing up for them and being there for your audience consistently will help with that, apart from an advertisement. Plus, it's more budget friendly.
It is more budget friendly. I love it. So many gems in there. That's so good. So, when it came to this career that you have, did you have another part-time job? When did you start making money and could live 100% off of what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so I'm really bad with times tables, but I'll try my best. So about 2 years ago, I went freelance, but year and a half before that, when I went freelance, I don't know what year we're in, sorry, but I was doing graphic design for a fashion apparel company, because that's what I studied in university, and I really loved it. I've always been surrounded by Photoshop. I love doing it, and I was diving into photography at that time, but I felt like everything was really, really redundant. I felt like, I was clocking in and clocking out. I didn't feel like I was being challenged. I didn't feel like I was growing. I felt like I just kind of just hit this wall where I was getting paid to sit in a chair. And even though I was finished with my work that day, I was getting paid for how much time I was sitting in a chair, not from the work that I was publishing. And I just realized, like, this isn't really what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something more on social media. I wanted to work for myself. But before that, actually, I had quit my job doing graphic design. And between the time of me going freelance and quitting that graphic design job, I actually got another job that lasted about a month before I quit. And I was running 2 different brands' Instagram accounts from the ground up. So I was doing their Facebook, Pinterest, and all that stuff, doing the content creation, digital strategies, everything. One woman team for 2 companies. It was a huge undertaking, but I realized, even though I love social media, 1, the brands don't make sense to me, and 2, I didn't feel like it was being that effective with my time, and I felt my creative energy like falling down, and it just started turning into a numbers game. So after doing that for a month, I was just like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna start working freelance for myself, because I already had dabbled in it when I was doing graphic design, doing photography here, or graphic design for different showrooms that I would pull from my blog. So it came really easy to go freelance. I'm not gonna say, it's been super difficult, because it really hasn't. I think, back then I knew that I wanted to be in fashion when I started a blog, and that I loved sharing my stories. So the 2 kind of worked in my favor. So, when you have a blog, you make that many contacts so much easier. So I think it's really important to be on social media and to be putting yourself out there. But as far as going full time, I was doing my blog, and that could have been sufficient enough money from that. I was having my YouTube channel, I was getting sponsored posts that way, but I knew that that wasn't my end all be all. I knew, some people, they have this goal in mind that they want to be a huge famous YouTuber or a famous blogger, and they want this, that's all they want to do. For me, that wasn't it. I knew that I was taking my blog, and that I had this extra time, and that I could use these contacts that I'm gaining to do freelance for them. So before quitting my job, actually, I reached out to an agency in Los Angeles called Something Social. And I said, hey, we're working on this collaboration, but I just want to let you know, I offer all these other things. And, that was my first official freelance gig, where I was going to be offering them, month to month, different kinds of things depending upon what they needed. So I was just like, I can do photography, content creation, graphic design, all these different things, because that's what I do for my own blog, as well as what I've had experience in the past. So it kind of just rippled from there. I started writing for the blog OPI. I started working for other agencies, creating content for them. And then, I feel like it's a ripple effect. Once you start working with one person, you work with another. So while I was working freelance doing content creation and all that other stuff, I was also doing my blog, just because I felt like it wasn't enough for me just to be creating that content. I'm definitely a very busy person, and I love it. If I have any free time, I want to be doing something productive rather than just, sitting scrolling through Facebook, even though the videos are very tempting. I'm definitely a victim to them. But, I think there are different people that want different things. And for me personally, it would have been, enough in Los Angeles if I would have just worked for myself, worked my blog and my YouTube channel, but I wanted something more, which is why I went freelance, and I still work freelance here in Paris. So, yeah.
I love that, because so oftentimes we get so inundated with what we're working on, and it sounds like flow really happens in your life, where you just really go with where your audience is going, with what feels good to you and fills you up and gives you that creative energy. I love that, because so many times so many times we encounter people who are trying to push so hard and they're not going anywhere. And it's just taking a step back and saying, okay, I can do other things outside of just pushing so hard on this one program that I have. So thank you so much for sharing your journey and all the different paths where to accumulate to wherever you are today,
I think that's really important. I think a lot of people, they look at other people and the comparison game comes. They go, I want that. But, if I would have been like, oh, I want to do what this person's doing, it wouldn't be true to me and it wouldn't feel right. And for me, I never chase the money. I chase what I love and what I'm passionate about, because I truly believe if you work hard at what you love doing, what comes naturally to you, what you're really passionate about, it's going to turn into something. It's going to turn into a job. You're going to make revenue from it. You're going to figure out a way, because that's what you are doing all the time. If I would have continued at that job where, graphic design or the social media manager for those two different brands that I mentioned, I wouldn't be happy. I don't know where I would have been, but I know I wouldn't be where I am today, because I wouldn't have allowed myself to grow and expand and really just follow the path that is true to myself, which I think is really important, that people really need to realize with themselves and really take the time to sit down and speak to yourself and be like, what do I love doing? What am I passionate about? What do I spend 24/7 thinking about doing, and really just start writing it down. For me, I actually did that a couple of months ago, and I realized there are so many things I'm passionate about, and then just trying to figure out to put it into one. And I think that's what's so beautiful about social media today, is there's so many different more options for people to work from home, or, they can work anywhere around the world and still be doing what they love. So as long as you just stay true to yourself and really just not force something, I think that's really important just for your growth in general, personal development / social media ventures, whatever that may be, just staying true to yourself and not forcing it.
Beautifully said. Yes, don't force it. So before we started with the interview, you and I were chatting. I would love to just introduce the fact that you live in Paris full time. I actually found you because I had lived in Paris for the summer. And so I would love to just, because a lot of people are looking to work from anywhere these days. And I would love to just have you share just a little bit about your story of how you arrived in Paris and how it's worked out for you. And now you've just been there 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year. I can't believe it. Time flies by. It's so crazy. And I'm still not even fluent in French, but it's super hard. So I first actually visited Europe in general 4 years ago. I always said since I was 10 years old, I'm a very goal-oriented person, even when I was younger, but I said, when I graduate university, I'm going to do it. I'm going to travel around Europe, and then I'm going to move to London, or I'm going to live in London. So I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I have 1 year left. I'm graduating university, and I need to do this for myself. If there's anything that I told myself to do, I need to do this. So I was working retail at the time, and I'm still so grateful for the manager I had back then, because I was able to actually quit my job after university and travel around. And when I was ready to come back, she would hire me. So I had that kind of security, even though, how old was I? 21. You don't really have that much responsibility and stuff, but still a lot of people are really scared because they need that security. So I was able to have that. And I knew I needed to do this for myself. So I traveled around Europe for 5 or 6 weeks. I went to 9 or 12 different countries, something insane, but it was definitely something, that really sparked something inside of me. And I actually had planned on moving to London, but when I had got there, I was so underwhelmed. I just London is a beautiful city. I understand, not every city is for everybody, but I just realized this doesn't feel like me. This doesn't really feel like home. And I've actually been back several times, and I still truly believe, it's not where I belong. But then again, I was able to stay true to myself and listen to myself like, hey, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't really feel like what I've always imagined. And then when I came to Paris, I was just like, this is just beautiful. Everything was just so romantic. I just was really in awe of the city, and I just really followed that. And so when I went around that whole trip, I just kept thinking about Paris. I visited all these different countries and cities. I was in Italy and I was in Spain, and still I really felt that connection to Paris. So I had met some people along the way. So I ended up getting into a long distance relationship with a French man. And so I came back a year later back to Paris, and I realized our relationship really wasn't the best. When you have a long distance relationship, sometimes you don't really know the person that you're dating on the other end. But I just remember feeling, even though my relationship was failing, I was just like, I still feel like I belong here. Like, even though I'm heartbroken, and I'm really heartbroken that this relationship isn't working out, or that I'm leaving the city that I love. And I realized, like, it's a city that I love. It's a city that I really feel like is home. And, I know a lot of people are like, you moved from beautiful, sunny Los Angeles. What are you thinking? But for me, Paris was really my true calling. So, after a year of going back, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to save my money. I'm going to just hustle, save my money, and move to Paris. I'm going to do it. Like, there's now or never. Like, I'm going to move to Paris because I'm young and I have no responsibilities, or I'm not. So I actually ended up getting into a relationship a year after, exactly 1 year. It's so crazy how the world works like that, because I was in the airport August 15th, 2015. And a year later, August 15th, 2016, I was in a relationship. So I think that's really crazy how everything comes full circle. So then at that point, I had already made the decision in a year I was going to do it. I was going to just become an au pair, or do whatever it takes to really make my dreams come true, when I became in that relationship with another French man. And he was doing a language class in Los Angeles. So that's how we met, and we started dating that whole month that he was there. So the whole month of July and a little bit of August, we fell in love, and the rest is history. But I always knew that I would end up here. I didn't know how or when, but I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. And, at the time I was looking into ways to do, photography school or fashion school or anything like that, but there wasn't the funding. And, I realized that, well, there's a will, there's a way. And, I didn't end up becoming an au pair, but I ended up getting into a relationship with a French man, and we said we could just move in together. So that's what happened. And now I've been living here for a year, and it's just so crazy. So we actually did long distance again for a year. But this time he's a keeper. So it worked out for the best. And I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. And that I allowed myself to stay true to really what feels right to me, and allow myself, even though I wanted to move to Paris back in the day, back in 2014, it wasn't the right time. And I'm really glad that, I waited, or, well, the universe made me wait until the timing was right. So yeah, I think it's really interesting when you really think about your life and you put it down on paper, and you just think about all the experiences, because when you're kind of in it at the time, you don't really realize why something is happening. At the time, my relationship was failing, and I just felt like everything that I had thought was supposed to be wasn't. And I just felt like, why is this happening? But if that didn't happen, then I would have never met my boyfriend. I maybe would have never realized that, Paris is really the city that I love. You don't know unless those experiences happen. So, and also I would have never, or I can't say, I don't know if I would have started my YouTube channel, because if it wasn't for that horrible relationship of him telling me I can't, and things ending, and me having that confidence and saying, you know what, I'm not going to listen to this person bring me down and tell me I can't. Who knows what could have happened. But yeah, that's kind of a mouthful of how I ended up in Paris.
It's so inspiring because really it's about setting a vision
Yeah.
and then taking action, right? Manifesting is just taking action.
Yeah.
It's a verb, right? So it sounds like even though you've been saying this since you were young,
Yeah.
this is what has manifested through you taking all these different little steps and then being open to what the universe is going to deliver. You know, dating the different guys and all those experiences are beautiful because it pushed you to where you are.
Yeah.
You broke through. You know, sometimes we talk about like, okay, failure is something that builds us up versus taking us out. And even though this boyfriend didn't encourage you around the Instagram and all of that, you pushed through and did something so different and you've arrived to where you have today.
Yeah.
And it's so incredible. I think you have a book in you.
Oh, I always said I was going to write a book.
I think we need to talk about this. I think you have a book in you.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. It's so interesting that you say that, though, because I actually met with the writer of Sex and the City a few months back because he was looking, we have a mutual friend, so he was looking for somebody to get inspiration from to write a new series that's going to be, quote unquote, coming to television. But, you know, he was asking me about my life. So if we see my life on the television, you know, of these horrible dating experiences and finding this like amazing Frenchman and then moving to Paris and like all this stuff, you know, it's me. Be on television. Yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful story. I think it's very inspiring to women women, period. But then add the element of a blogger or you know, an entrepreneur, you know, someone in business. So, you know, I would love to dive into the influencer part because this leads to being an influencer. When is that point in time where you say to yourself, I'm going to put the words influencer on my bio?
So blogger has definitely evolved to an influencer. You know, everyone will start out, I want to be a blogger, I have a blog, but it kind of expanded because no longer was I just having a blog, I was having a YouTube channel. So how do you say I'm a blogger and a YouTuber and I have Instagram? Like what is that? So I think, when was it when I discovered the word? I think it was like 2.5 years ago when I discovered the word influencer, or, you know, people were like, what is influencer? Does it mean to influence somebody? And for me, I personally believe that somebody who inspires somebody, who creates a call to action, and who influences something. And it doesn't even have to necessarily even be a purchase of a product. You know, if I influence somebody to go and have a walk outside, you know, if I influence someone to go for a run, if I influence someone, it doesn't even have to be, you know, it could be a lifestyle, it could even be a product. But I think the word influencer has evolved because, you know, people have all these different platforms and they realize they reach their audience. There's some kind of connection with their audience. Yeah, so I think it definitely expanded. And back then, people were like, what's a blogger? And so, you know, now people know what a blogger is, and now people are like, what's an influencer? So most of the times I just say I have a blog or I have an Instagram account, because then people are like, oh, okay, I understand. And they're like, you can make money from that? How do you, you know, my boyfriend's family, all they think I do is just like buy pretty flowers and take photos all day. So yeah.
It is hard. It is hard when you're not in that industry to know and understand how in the world do you make, excuse me, money in this. You know, sometimes my husband will look over at my YouTube, you know, channel and it's sitting there. And the other day it had like, I make $30,000 a month on YouTube. And he's like, I can't even wrap my head around what that means or what that looks like. What do you mean you make $30,000 a month on YouTube? What does that entail? So I think that it is very new information for most of the population.
Yeah, I think I definitely have to agree with you too. And I think it's so interesting how everything always evolves with the platforms too. So before, you know, there wasn't even AdSense on YouTube. Now there's AdSense, and then now there's collaborations, and there's just like all these different ways to earn a living, you know, as long as you're willing to put in the work and realize that there is opportunity, like you can do so many things.
I know, that's really interesting. Yesterday I was reading something about, August is a big eclipse month.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and they were saying, sorry, I have like this weird
It's okay.
tickle. So they were saying with the eclipses, it's kind of like the full moon where you let go of stuff that no longer serves you and you bring in the fresh, opportunities. And the writer had put, be original with whatever's coming into your life. And that's exactly what you're saying. There's so many things that you can do online, and there's so many ways that you can travel the world. There's so many ways that you can run your business. There's no one concrete way. And you just have to really be open to it. And it sounds like a lot of what you do is self-reflection, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, I think subconsciously I do that a lot. Like saying it out loud, I didn't really realize, but I think a lot of times I just evaluate my life. I'm very aware of my surroundings and the people around me. And I noticed very, very young, there was a lot of people that were just working to live instead of living to work, I guess you could say. So I knew very, very young that I wanted to do something that I loved and make money from it. It doesn't mean that I have to make the most money in the world, as long as I'm doing what I love and I'm enjoying my life. I'm allowing myself to live and experience. I think it's super important. And you're right, there's no concrete one way to earn a living. You know, no one says you have to be a YouTuber with 1 million subscribers to earn a living. You know, no one says you have to have an Instagram account and have this many followers. Everything always changes and expands, like I keep saying, and it's so true. You know, brands are even evaluating and changing the way that they're doing digital marketing. You know, I think the most important thing is just to realize that there's so much opportunity and just like, yeah, I guess evaluate yourself and realize like what you love doing. What is that? What sparks inside of you? And if it's not your 9 to 5, you know, maybe like you can't quit right now, but like save some money and make like steps to do it, because I believe anybody can do what they love in life, or, you know, travel around the world. I don't think anything is impossible, but it is if you say it is. You know, you have to have the right mentality, you have to have the right, you know, you have to be in the right mindset to be able to chase your dreams and live the life that you want to live, because it's easy to get a job, it's easy to work that 9 to 5 job, but are you gonna be happy? I don't know. It just depends on what job. Maybe if you really do love your 9 to 5 job, but for me, I realized really early that sitting in that chair was not living the life that I wanted to. I did not want to continue doing that graphic design job, even though that's what I had studied in college. And even though I was so hard on myself for a really long time, because I felt like I almost quote unquote wasted my degree because I had studied graphic design. Now, years later, I realized, oh no, I really did it. You know, everything happens for a reason. And I kind of allowed myself, and I never realized it, but I guess I do self-reflect a lot.
No, it's really, you do. And it's interesting to hear your journey and your perspective and how you flow with things, but you definitely check in and evaluate. You check in to make sure that you're on track and connecting with your community. You make sure that you're giving the best content. You make sure that you have this goal for the next project in life. And it's interesting because when we have that self-reflection, you can pivot and turn and make sure that you're wholly present. And it sounds like you did that with the London, Paris thing. You've done it with your social media. So I love it. You're truly an inspiration.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Favorite compliment is when somebody says, you know, it's not if I'm having a good hair day or if my makeup looks good or my highlight looks good or anything like that. It's always when, you know, I talk to a girl and then later she sends me a direct message or something, or she posts on Instagram saying like, you know, thank you so much, like you've really inspired me, or whatever that is like my favorite compliment. And I think that's why I've transitioned into what I'm doing now, is because I realized, you know, it might have started as one thing of like sharing my experience, but it's definitely transformed to something completely different. And just inspiring women in general, it's something that I'm extremely passionate about.
Yes. So tell us about your new project that you have.
Yeah. So, because as I mentioned, I really love inspiring and empowering women, I had recently created a network called Women Run This. And I actually had the idea a couple of months ago. And, it was really hard getting started because I was so stuck on the name. I really wanted something that resonated, but, it's so hard because there's so many names taken. You don't want to copy anybody, but you want to stay true to yourself. So I landed with Women Run This, and I love it because I love running, and two, it's all about like women empowerment. It kind of reminds me of the song, the Beyonce song, like "Who Runs the World, Girls? Who runs the world?" That song, but that's what it reminds me of. Yeah, so I created this network because I had done a series on my blog that was really, really popular called Blogging Series. And I would share tips like how to edit my Instagram photos, or, how to recover after like social media induced bad day or anything like that from comparison, or feeling down on yourself, or feeling unmotivated or uninspired. And I realized that actually, not when I was living in Los Angeles, that I was going through something, but I realized it when I was in Paris. So I actually felt like I wasn't meeting people, and I wasn't inspired, and I was just comparing myself, and I had all these expectations for when I moved to Paris. It's going to be like this and it's going to be like that, and then I just felt like I was in this kind of rut. And so that's when I really started diving into this blogging series and realizing there's so many amazing women around the world who are trying to make it happen, who are sitting from home, who want someone to talk to, who wants that like quote unquote best friend to bounce off ideas. And I actually realized that I loved inspiring women, I guess you can say, or public speaking, is when I was in a panel on Women's Wear Daily in Las Vegas, with like 6 other bloggers. And I was actually really scared to do the panel at first. It was like 3 or 4 days. But at the end, I realized I didn't want to put the microphone down. I would tell girls like, see me after, I'll help you with your Instagram, or, like, you can do it, and there's so many people that came out to me afterwards, and I realized how much I loved inspiring people. And I realized it's what I had been doing with people that I'd met every day anyways. There's a blogger, her name is Audrey Storm. You can find her on Instagram, Audrey Storm. But she had come to me and she was like, I want to be doing a YouTube channel, but, I started it and it just really doesn't feel right. And, she actually thanked me a couple weeks ago. She sent me a DM and she was like, if it really wasn't for you, and telling me that I can do it, and telling me that, don't worry about everybody else and just go for it, I wouldn't be where I am today. And now she gets like, she's doing so well for herself. She gets like 15 to 20,000 views per video, and she's really just stayed true to herself. So I kind of just like reevaluated myself and realized all these different categories that I love doing. And I created this network, and we launched back in July. So it's really, really new. But I also was a part of all these different communities, but I just didn't want it to be a place for you to meet other girl bosses, or, I didn't feel that connection, and I wanted to be at the forefront. I wanted to, because I loved sharing, and I didn't feel like I had that community, and I had all these experiences with photography and all this stuff, and I just was like, I'm going to be doing this not only for myself, but hoping other people that come to me all the time, because I get all those DMs and, from Instagram stories or YouTube, and they're like, how do I do this? And, I wanted that community, and, I'm so happy that I did it, and I don't regret it at all. And I'm really excited for everything that's going. So not only is the community full of girl boss bloggers, but it's also a place where I share weekly workshops where I share, how to authentically build your Instagram, or how to have the perfect feed with like best applications to use, or anything like that. But it's actually really interesting because it's a little bit of a challenge for myself to create specific content of what other people are wanting, because I've only created content that I wanted to see, but now I have to create content that other people want to see. But it's really, really interesting. And it's a really small community, but I love it as if it's like my little baby. And, we have an Instagram account at Women Run This as well. And it's actually really fun because it's completely different from my brand. Because my brand is a little bit, it's less editorial, it's more relatable, it's almost all shot on my iPhone, where I share this inside the network. But when I have this network for the Instagram, I'm able to create this like aesthetically pleasing, evolving. I'm able to create these videos that I'm not able to create on my Instagram account, that I'm actually able to show my skill sets and everything like that. So yeah, I'm really excited about this network and like where it's going to take me. I hope to be launching some product launches with like social media strategies and printables, because I am a huge stationery person. I have like 7 different journals and I use them all. So yeah, I'm really excited about it, and it's something that I'm really passionate about it, and I cannot wait to see where it goes.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's always a big step to pivot. And, earlier before the call, we were talking kind of about it's almost 2 brands, and you have some decisions to make whether to meld them together or not. So very excited. So for those of you listening, make sure to go over to Kristina's new Instagram at Women Run This. Yes. And the Facebook group. And the links will also be in the blog post so that you guys can have access to all things Kristina. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all the insight.
It was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Good. Well, we'll have to have you back on, and we can talk about the growth of the new business.
Because there will be.
Yes, exactly. So thank you so much.
Thank you.